I was shocked when I found the hidden journal she'd been writing love letters to him in. I had no idea what I was looking for. I wasn't snooping, at least not intentionally. I was looking for an old receipt in her drawer when I saw it. An old, worn-out notebook buried under some papers. It caught my eye because it didn't belong there. I didn't even think twice. I picked it up, curiosity gnawing at me. I opened it, figuring it was just some random notes or sketches. But the first page I turned to made my stomach drop. It was a letter, in her handwriting, not to me, to someone else. I froze. I couldn't make sense of it at first. The words blurred together, but then my eyes focused and I read it again. And again. The more I read, the more the weight in my chest grew. There were pages and pages of letters, each one more intimate than the last, each one filled with a kind of longing that I hadn't seen in her in a long time. I miss you so much, I can't stop thinking about you. I wish I could be with you all the time. I feel alive when I'm with you. And then, the kicker, I can't wait for our next secret rendezvous. My brain was screaming. Who was she writing this to? My heart was hammering in my chest. I could feel my hand start to shake as I turned the pages, each letter more desperate, more passionate than the last. It wasn't just an affair, it was a relationship. She wasn't just talking about catching up with someone or hanging out after work. She was in love with someone else, someone I didn't know. I could feel the blood drain from my face. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but I certainly didn't expect this. The pain was immediate and visceral, as if someone had punched me in the gut. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't even sure what to do with myself. I stood there in the dim light of her bedroom, holding the journal in my hands, unable to look away from the words on the page. I wanted to scream, to throw it against the wall, to demand answers. But I couldn't do anything. I just stood there. Finally, I forced myself to shut the book, but the image of her handwriting, the words "I miss you," haunted me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I wanted to throw it all away, to forget that I'd seen it, but I couldn't. It was too real, too raw. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal, something so much deeper, and I had been oblivious to it for so long. I went into the living room, trying to steady my breathing. My hands were still shaking, and I couldn't think straight. What the hell was I supposed to do now? Should I confront her? Should I just leave? How could she have been so sneaky? How long had this been going on? I kept picturing her in my head, sitting on the couch, texting him, writing these letters when I wasn't around. I thought back to the times when she'd said she was busy or working late or had a lot of stuff to do. I thought about how I never questioned it. I had always believed her, but now it all felt like a lie. Every single moment, every smile, every laugh, it felt fake. How could I have been so blind? My head was spinning. The more I tried to calm myself down, the worse it got. I needed to talk to her. But what would I even say? How do you start a conversation when your entire world feels like it's crumbling? How do you ask the person you thought you loved about something like this? I heard the sound of the front door opening. My stomach twisted. She was home. I couldn't let her see me like this, standing in the middle of the room, holding that journal in my hand. I quickly shoved it in the drawer, trying to act like nothing had happened. But even as I did it, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel the weight of the truth pressing down on me, and I couldn't shake it. She walked into the room, looking like she hadn't noticed anything. She smiled a little too brightly. "Hey, babe," she said, setting down her bag. "How was your day?" I stared at her. For a second, I didn't know how to respond. How could she be so normal? How could she walk in here and act like everything was fine, like I didn't just read her secret love letters to someone else? "It was okay," I said, my voice flat. I could hear the edge of my tone, but I couldn't help it. She tilted her head, sensing something was off. "You okay?" I didn't answer right away. I couldn't. The words were stuck in my throat. All I could think about was the journal in the drawer. I found something," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. Her face went pale. She didn't have to ask what it was. I could see the realization hit her, the same way it had hit me when I'd read those letters. Her eyes flickered to the drawer where I had hidden it, but she didn't move. She didn't say anything. "I found a journal," I said, my voice shaking now. "The one you've been writing in." "The letters." I felt sick to my stomach. My voice barely held together as I continued. "The ones you've been writing to him." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She was staring at me, frozen. And then it hit me. I knew. She was guilty. I didn't want to find out like this, she said, her voice barely audible. She took a step toward me, but I couldn't move. I couldn't look at her. Who is he? I demanded, my hands clenched at my sides. Who is the guy you've been writing love letters to? Who is he that you're telling you miss him, that you want to be with him? I could feel the tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. How long has this been going on? She started, but then stopped, her voice faltering. She looked like she was going to say something else, but she couldn't. How long? I repeated, louder now. The words felt like they were ripping through me. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said, her voice trembling. It's complicated. Complicated? I almost laughed, though it came out more like a sob. What's so complicated about it? You're in love with someone else. How is that complicated? Her face crumpled, and she reached out, her hand trembling. I'm so sorry, she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you. Tell me. I interrupted. You didn't have to tell me. You could have just ended it. You could have come to me and said you weren't happy, but instead, you went behind my back and wrote these letters like you were living some secret life. I felt sick. Every word I said felt like acid in my mouth. How could you do this to me? I was scared, she said, barely audible, her voice cracking. I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want you to think I wasn't enough. But I couldn't listen anymore. The hurt was too much. The betrayal was too deep. She was apologizing, but all I could think about was how she had deceived me, how she had lied, how she had chosen him over me. I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice cold, even though I felt anything but. I need some time to think. I don't know what's going to happen now, but I can't be here with you right now. She opened her mouth like she was going to say something, but nothing came out. I turned and walked out, leaving her standing in the middle of the room, staring at me like she couldn't believe what was happening. But I couldn't stay. Not with her. Not when everything had just fallen apart. I walked out into the night, not sure where I was going, but knowing that I couldn't go back to that apartment. Not tonight. I needed to breathe. I needed to think. But most of all, I needed to figure out how to move on from the woman who had just broken my heart. Part 2. I spent the next few hours wandering around aimlessly, the streets empty and cold as the weight of everything pressed down on me. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away, to be somewhere that wasn't there. Not in the apartment, not with her. I needed space to think, to breathe, to try and make sense of everything. The night felt endless. I ended up at a 24-hour diner, sitting in a booth with a coffee that had long gone cold, staring out the window at nothing in particular. My phone was buzzing in my pocket, her name lighting up the screen over and over. Hannah. I didn't pick up. I didn't even know what I would say if I did. The sound of the diner's jukebox playing a country song I didn't recognize barely registered. My mind was elsewhere, lost in a storm of emotions. I felt numb, like I was drifting outside my own body, watching myself move, but unable to stop it. How had we gotten here? How had the woman I trusted most in the world turned into someone who could hurt me like this? I tried to go over the last few months, to remember any signs I'd missed. But it was all a blur. She had been so normal. She'd kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me before she left for that trip, and I believed it. I hadn't seen this coming, not for a second. And now I was faced with a reality where the woman I loved was writing love letters to someone else, meeting him in secret, lying to my face. The thought was suffocating. How could she do that to me? I picked up my phone and saw the latest text from her. Please, can we talk? I know I've hurt you, and I don't know how to make it right, but I swear I never meant to destroy us. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. It was destroyed. It had been destroyed the moment she picked up that pen and wrote her first letter to him. But I couldn't bring myself to ignore her completely. Something in me still needed closure. So I texted back, my fingers trembling as I typed. I'm not ready to talk. I need time to think. I'll come home later, but I don't know when. Please stop texting me for now. I didn't expect her to respond immediately, but she did. A minute later, another message popped up. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just stared at the screen for a while, feeling my throat tighten. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. How many times had I heard that line from people who hurt me? I couldn't stand it anymore. It felt like a cheap excuse, like she was trying to minimize the damage. You don't accidentally fall in love with someone else, do you? I threw my phone down on the table, just wanted to escape it all. I sat there for what felt like hours, not really thinking about anything. I wasn't hungry, but I ordered a burger just to have something to do. The waitress brought it over, but I didn't have the energy to touch it. I was in some kind of emotional paralysis. I felt like I was drowning, but in slow motion. My mind kept drifting back to the journal, the love letter she had written, the way she'd poured her heart out to him. Was she seeing him now? Was she still with him? How long had this been going on? I couldn't get the image out of my head. She was with him. She was with someone else. I paid the bill and left the diner, the cold air outside hitting me like a slap. I started walking again, not sure where I was going, but my feet kept moving, carrying me through the city like some kind of autopilot. It felt surreal, like I was in a dream, disconnected from everything that was happening. By the time I returned to the apartment, the sun was just starting to rise. I hadn't slept, hadn't even thought about sleep. I walked inside, the door creaking as I pushed it open. The apartment felt different now, smaller, colder. She was sitting on the couch, her knees pulled up to her chest, her eyes swollen from crying. The sight of her made my heart twist painfully in my chest, but the anger came back quickly, stronger than before. Why? Was all I could manage. My voice sounded foreign, like it wasn't even mine. Why him? Why couldn't you just talk to me? Why didn't you come to me when things were getting, whatever this is? Why didn't you tell me what you needed? She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, and I could see the guilt written all over her face. I was scared. I thought I could fix things without hurting you. But I was wrong. You think that makes it okay? I snapped, my chest tightening. You thought you could fix this behind my back? You thought you could have this secret life without me knowing? Without hurting me? I was shouting now, the words coming out faster than I could stop them. You were with him every night, every single night while I was here, thinking you were away for work. How could you do that? How could you lie to me like that? I never wanted to hurt you, she said quietly, tears running down her face now. I didn't want to choose between you and him. I thought I could do both, but I couldn't. I made a huge mistake, and I'm so sorry. The apology was almost too much to bear. I wanted to shout that it was too late, that I couldn't forgive her, but I couldn't get the words out. I felt like I was drowning again, suffocating under the weight of everything she had said, everything she had done. The woman I loved, the woman I had built my life with, was not the person I thought she was. So what now? I asked, the words coming out like a whisper, barely audible. What do we do now? She shook her head. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try. I know I've ruined everything, but please just give me a chance to make it right. Please. Her voice cracked at the end, and she looked at me with those pleading eyes, as if hoping I would see something in her that wasn't there anymore. I stared at her, the silence stretching out between us like a vast, empty chasm. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that she was sorry. But I couldn't. Not after everything. I can't just forget this. I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. She nodded, her face pale and stricken. I understand. I turned and walked into the bedroom, the place that had once felt like home, now feeling like a prison. I didn't know what to do or how to move forward. Part of me wanted to walk out the door and never look back, but another part, some small, foolish part of me, was clinging to the idea of us, of what we used to have. But could I ever get past this? Could I ever get past her? I didn't have the answers. All I knew was that everything had changed, and I didn't know where to go from here.